What's up with it? You watching the Bay Bomber TV. And yeah, we about to check out this video from the YouTube channel Rap Trend. And the title is Boosie panics after finding out his ex-hitman Marlo Mike is getting released. Yeah, man, that's a fool with it, man. I thought that way had bodies on bodies, man, and wasn't gonna never get out. But yeah, man, I think the homie Uncle Bang made the announcement, though, man. And yeah, man, I seen that some people can't really believe it, man, and calling it cap or whatever. But yeah, man, I don't see Uncle Bang as no capper, man, for real, though, man. Uncle Bang a real one, man. But yeah, man, word from Uncle Bang, man, he ain't do all that stuff they said he did, man. So yeah, man, a lot of the stuff he got accused of, man, he probably ain't even do, you know what I mean? And yeah, man, I can believe it, because when I was little, man, I used to get blamed for everything happening in my neighborhood, man. Like everybody that lived near me or whatever, man, they thought I was like the baddest kid in the neighborhood and did everything, man. And most of the time, man, I ain't even do what they accused me of, for real, though. So yeah, man, I know how I feel to get blamed for stuff you ain't even do, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, I haven't checked out the video. Don't completely know what they talking about, but let's check it out and see what they talking about.
Yeah, Marlo Mike coming home. It's official. Should see him by 2027. Mike coming home.
Word started spreading that the man they called Marlo Mike might be coming home. And the moment that news started moving through certain circles, people had one question, and it had nothing to do with celebration or reunion. The question everybody was asking was, what does Boosie Badass do now? Because if you know the history, then you already understand why the idea of Marlo Mike getting out of prison would send a chill through anybody who was connected to what went down in Baton Rouge during those years. We're talking about a man who was at the center of one of the most explosive for hire cases this country has seen connected to a rap artist. We're talking about a man whose name was attached to allegations so serious they carried the possibility of the death penalty. And we're talking about a situation where the person who prosecutors said pulled the triggers, the man they put on the stand, the man whose actions formed the foundation of the entire case, that man could potentially be back on the outside. You want to know why Boosie supposedly panicked? Stay right here, because by the time we finish laying this out, you are going to understand exactly why this situation has the people who know the full story walking on eggshells. Yo, what's good, fam? Welcome back. And if you're new here, you landed in the right place at the right time, because today we are going all the way in on one of the most dangerous and complicated stories to ever come out of the Southern rap scene. This is not a story about beef. This is not a story about social media drama or who said what on a podcast. This is a story about murder allegations, about courtrooms, about what happens when the streets follow you all the way to the top of the music industry and threaten to take everything you built. Today, we are breaking down the full truth behind Marlo Mike, behind Boosie Badass, and behind the situation that people are saying has Boosie shook in a way the public has never seen from him before. Stick with us, because this one goes deep. So let's start where this story actually begins. Not with a courtroom, not with a verdict, but with a person. Because before Michael Louding became a name in legal documents, before he became a figure that people debate on the internet, before he became the man at the center of one of the most talked about cases in Southern rap history, he was a young man from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, navigating the same streets that produced Boosie Badass himself. Michael Louding, known throughout those neighborhoods as Marlo Mike, grew up in the kind of environment where options felt narrow and danger felt constant. Baton Rouge in the mid-2000s was a city where poverty ran deep, where gang activity had established roots that were generational, and where the line between making it out and getting swallowed up was razor thin for young men coming up in certain parts of that city. There was no industry waiting to absorb them, no network of opportunity pulling them towards safer paths. What there was the block, and the people on the block, and the rules that governed life on that block. That was the world Marlo Mike came up in. He was not a rapper. He was not someone who ever sought the spotlight or wanted his name in any kind of public conversation. He was a street figure, someone who moved in the shadows of a world that was becoming very bright, very fast because of one man whose star was rising out of that same environment. Torrance Hatch, the artist the world would come to know as Boosie Badass. Now here's where it gets real, fam. Because the relationship between Boosie and Marlo Mike, as prosecutors laid it out in court, was not a friendship in the traditional sense of the word. It was not two neighborhood guys just running together and watching each other's backs the way you see in 1,000 rap videos. According to the prosecution's case, the relationship between these two men was transactional in the most violent way imaginable. Prosecutors alleged that Boosie, by this point one of the biggest names coming out of Baton Rouge with a growing national profile and real money behind him, was paying Marlo Mike to handle situations that needed to be handled permanently. Let that land for a second. The allegation was not that Marlo Mike was just someone Boosie knew from the block. The allegation was that Marlo Mike was allegedly functioning as a paid hitman, that Boosie was allegedly the man with the money and the motive, and Marlo Mike was allegedly the man with the trigger.
I ain't gonna lie, man. They keep saying allegedly. We gotta assume it wasn't true then or something, man. But yeah, man, that's a wild story. But I ain't trying to incriminate nobody or nothing like that.
Prosecutors argued that across multiple incidents, this was the arrangement that existed between them. Not a partnership of equals, not a crew situation, not two friends who happened to be around when things went bad. A financial arrangement where one man allegedly gave the order, handed over the money, and another man allegedly went and made it happen. That is what prosecutors put in front of a Louisiana jury, and that is what made this case unlike almost anything the rap world had seen at that point in.
I ain't gonna lie, the craziest thing about it though, man, was like the amounts of money. Allegedly, man, he wasn't getting too much for doing whatever they were saying he was doing. Yeah, man, I think the rumor was like he was getting around like $1,000 or something for real.
In time. To understand why these allegations carried so much weight, you have to understand who Boosie was at this moment in time and what he represented to people who followed his music and his career. By the late 2000s, Boosie Badazz was not just a regional name that circulated through Louisiana and the surrounding states. He had built a catalog of music that was raw and deeply personal in a way that few artists in any era have managed to sustain across multiple projects. His mixtapes were circulating everywhere. His name was attached to real cultural momentum. He had the kind of following that was built not on radio play or marketing budgets, but on people genuinely connecting with what he was saying because it reflected lives they actually lived.
I ain't gonna lie, when it come down to like rap and impact, Boosie did have a different kind of impact. Yeah, it seemed like hoods all over the place related to Boosie for real, though. Even my hood for real. And honestly, man, he been doing pretty well in the game to protect this name. You know what I mean? A lot of dudes in the rap game been losing respect over the years. You know what I mean? So far as speaking out and stuff, Boosie is seen as like one of the realest dudes in the game, though, right now for real.
His music was not the kind of music that kept the streets at a comfortable, profitable distance. It was the kind of music that documented the streets from the inside, with the kind of detail and emotional honesty that only comes from someone who was not just observing, but living what he was rapping about. So when prosecutors started building a case that alleged his street involvement went far beyond what he was putting into lyrics, the collision between his public persona and the allegations in those court documents created a shockwave that moved through the entire hip-hop world at a moment when everybody was paying attention. People were not just reading about a man facing serious charges. People were reading about the man whose music had been the soundtrack to their lives, and they were sitting with the very complicated question of what it means when the line between the art and the life collapses completely. The specific case that became the centerpiece of the prosecution's theory involved the 2009 killing of a man named Terry Boyd. According to prosecutors, this was not a random act of street violence, not a situation that escalated out of a dispute and ended in tragedy. This was an alleged murder for hire, deliberate and calculated, that prosecutors argued Boosie had orchestrated from a position of relative power and that Marlo Mike had gone out and carried out.
I ain't gonna lie, man. These pretty much closed cases, man. Marlo Mike went to jail for the situation, did his time, man. About to get out, man. Justice was served, man. For real, though. Yeah, man. They making it sound like a dude can get charged for the same thing 2 times, man. For real.
This was the killing that prosecutors used to build the first-degree murder charge against Boosie, the charge that carried with it the possibility of the death penalty in the state of Louisiana. Think about what that means for a moment. We are not talking about a weapons charge or a drug charge or even a manslaughter allegation. We are talking about the state of Louisiana looking Torrance Hatch in the eye and saying they were prepared to pursue execution. And Marlo Mike was the linchpin of the entire thing because he was the person prosecutors alleged had physically committed the act that formed the foundation of the most serious charge Boosie would ever face in his life. The courtroom timeline stretched across years. Boosie was indicted. He sat in prison while his case moved through the system. And all the while, the music world watched and waited and argued in comment sections and and barbershops and everywhere else, people talked about rap, trying to make sense of what was happening to one of the most compelling voices the South had produced. But here's where it gets interesting, because the 2012 first-degree murder trial did not end the way prosecutors had planned. After hearing all of the evidence, after sitting through the testimony and the arguments and the back and forth of a high-stakes criminal proceeding that carried the most severe consequences the legal system could impose, the jury came back with a not guilty verdict on the murder charge. Boosie walked out of that courtroom acquitted on the most serious count against him. That does not mean he walked out of that era without consequences. He had separate drug charges that kept him incarcerated until 2014. And the years he spent behind bars took a toll that you can hear in the music he made during and after that period and see in every interview he has done since coming home. But the murder charge, the one that had the whole culture holding its breath, the one that could have taken him away forever, ended in an acquittal. That is the documented legal outcome, and no amount of internet commentary changes what that jury decided after hearing what was presented in that courtroom. Marlo Mike's story, however, ended very differently. While Boosie's jury returned a not guilty verdict, Michael Louding faced his own reckoning in those same courts, and when that reckoning came, it came hard. He was convicted in connection with the killing of Terry Boyd, and the sentence handed down was life without the possibility of parole. Not a 10-year bid, not a 20-year stretch with the possibility of early release for good behavior. Life without parole. In Louisiana, that means exactly what it sounds like. You are going to prison, and the state does not intend for you to ever come back out.
Yeah, man, that's a fool with it, man. Sound like that boy Boosie always dodging bullets, man. For real, though, man. At this point, man, I feel like dude's already been charged or whatever, man. That case, oh, man, I think Boosie got other things to worry about right now, man. And yeah, man, I done did videos on the Marlo Mike situation before, man, and I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of sad a little bit. Kind of seemed like a youngster that got taken advantage of, man. For real, though. But yeah, man, y'all think he really about to get out, though, man? That's really a surprise right there, man. I thought he'd never get out with all the crazy allegations they had on him, man. But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. You watching the Babe Bomber TV. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Until next time.